So this is us logging all the beads. So we're opening up every single box. We're seeing which beads are in there and then numbering them down on the sheet, which is exactly as exciting as it sounds. Okay, so we've made a slight change for the second day because we wanted to, you know, change something and see if it goes differently. So I'm now going through all the third move boxes, and we've already logged how many beads were in each. Now we're resetting them, but before, okay, this is a full set. So there are 5 possible moves on the front of that box which MENACE could make, and all 5 of those colours have 2 beads each in there. So that is a full set of every single possible move is represented. But if I take one like this, let's have a look. Okay, so there are only 2 different coloured beads in that box. There's only green and yellow, which correspond to, on the front here, the middle and the bottom edge. Because as far as symmetries are concerned, they're the only 2 real moves. But we're like, actually, what would it change if we, because obviously we got the symmetries for finding the boxes, otherwise we have too many boxes. What if we ignored the symmetries for where MENACE can play? So it's not every equivalent move is equally likely, but every just possible physical move is equally likely. So what I'm doing now is taking this box and going, okay, so as well as the middle and the bottom, it can now play the side, it can play the other side, or it could play the top. So we're going through and giving every single box, every single possibility, and we'll see if that changes how, like, it probably won't change what it learns, it might. It might change how long it takes to learn. We'll find out. Most importantly, they're already letting school groups in, and we're still frantically resetting boxes, so we're gonna hurry up and get this done.
Whoa, how many zeros is that?
Right, so I'm just talking while Matt's frantically counting zeros. So in the main video, you may remember we were chatting about Go and chess and how many boxes you would need. There was another game that Matt worked out, and there wasn't enough time to talk about it in the main video, but I thought, look, this is definitely going in the second video because he worked out for Connect 4. I mean, that's possibly the most important game that we need to worry about. And so you've just double-checked how many matchboxes...
4.5 trillion, that's American trillion.
4.5 American trillion, which saddens me to say is the correct use of trillion. Okay, and that's feasible?
Yeah, so the sphere for that one would have a radius the height of the Eiffel Tower.
Oh, that's totally achievable.
Yeah, it might take you a while to find some of these boxes when you're...
We need a very good sorting system.
Yeah.
We might want to use smaller boxes.
Yeah.
But I guess you lots of different coloured beads.
Yes.
Like, well, there's only the number of...
Yeah, so with Connect 4, I did manage to program this one on a computer. I made a few simplifications, so if it could... If the machine can win, it makes the winning move and goes there. Otherwise, it machine learns.
Okay, because I guess it's a bit tedious. Machine learning, the final winning move is boring.
And then you can reduce a lot of positions out. So there's positions where it could have won but hasn't bothered winning yet. You can kind of take those out of the tree and make it...
Oh, and then you got a lot fewer boxes. And did it work when you coded it?
It did, yes. It beat... So I was running a Python course with some kids, and they were programming up bots, and it managed to beat all of their bots apart from one. Which I know good because they didn't train it for long enough.
So you got them to code up a strategy-based Connect 4 Python bot, and yours just machine learned this way, the MENACE way.
Yep.
And it beat all. Oh, that's amazing. Ah, okay. So there you are. So is Connect 4 solved?
I think so. But I don't know if we have the optimal strategy or not. I'm sure someone will correct us. Okay, so that one's not online because it's a ridiculous simulation of Connect 4. It's not online, is it? It's not online.
But your one for second player MENACE
is online. Yeah, so on my MENACE game, you can choose human, perfect strategy, or second player MENACE. Okay,
right, so you can play it. So you can check out the website, play with those, and if you get bored, try and program your own Python-based Connect 4 bot. Right, I'm here with Katie and Matt, and these are all the sheets we were logging the final position of all the boxes with whatever beads were in them at the end of the first day. And we thought we'd have a quick flick through and see what's interesting. So guys, what have we found? Here we go.
So well, I guess the first thing we can see is that we have a box here which completely ran out of...
No beads?
Beads. Yeah, so Menace has learned in that position, it should resign.
So if Menace goes corner,
yep,
and then the human goes, Pam, I'm in the middle, and Menace is just like, nah, I'm out.
Yeah.
There's just no way I can win from this.
Which is weird, because if I were playing, that's what I would do, because that's the best start.
That's the beginning of your classic corner strategy.
Yeah.
But essentially what's happened is every time it got to that situation, it then lost. And that happened as many times as it had beads.
And so it just went, I'm out, boom, gone.
Yeah. But also, it never did resign, because when we got to this point, it had also almost run out of corners in the first box.
Oh, so it wasn't doing the opening move to feed into this anyway?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so that whole area of possible games, it had been abandoned anyway. Right. And what else? Do we have any unusually large numbers of beads anyway?
I found a 17 earlier.
17?
Yeah. I might have to shuffle for a while.
That's okay, let's find it.
It was in one of the late boxes, I think. There we go, there's a 17 there.
Right. Whoa.
No idea how we got 17 in there.
Why is it 17 there?
So
Menace has started in the centre.
It must always draw from this position, probably. Oh, it could win, but I doubt that's going to happen. So I guess it is always drawing here, and just happened to...
It's just locking down, and that's... And I guess, does it get into a feedback loop once you've got a lot of one
maybe
colour?
once it's drawn a lot, it then only picks that colour and keeps going.
Oh, how bizarre. Oh, there you go. And you've got a weird one over there.
If I can find it again. There's one where the corner had 8, and there was actually no reason why the corner should have 8.
Corner with 8.
Oh, yeah, I remember that was in the second move, I think.
There's a lot of 4s in that. Corner with 8.
There's none of them.
There's corner with 7.
Might be that one.
Oh, no, but that one is blocking.
Yeah.
Is that?
It was like a...
Oh, so it's learned to block.
Block.
That's nice. Yeah, don't go over here. Block that. And that, I guess that's a block and win. So that is a very good move.
Oh, yeah, so that's why it's got 7 years.
And that's why it's reinforced that. And...
Have a look through these.
Is it maybe on that sheet? I can't remember. Yeah, no, it's this one. It's this one. So this is ridiculous. So I'm amused by the fact that there's 10 in this corner, because it goes in the middle, human player goes there, and it goes there. And what we think is that it ends up in a lot of drawn games if it does this, because the human gets confused and does something stupid.
It's like a decoy, confuse the opponent. Because it would learn, right? Because I guess when the original in the 60s was playing the same guy over and over, who was probably thinking logically about the games, whereas here they're playing random kids.
Yeah, we have a lot of variation in ability level in the human players, from kind of, I'm so small that I'm very excited to be holding a marker pen and I'm playing completely at random, all the way through to I am seriously definitely going to win. And those people have a very disappointing experience because they immediately just win.
Yeah, and young children are basically just random number generators to some extent, right? So but then that's I guess that's the benefit of playing actually humans. But then 48, like that's clearly, that's a strong move.
In almost every game. By the end of the day, Menace was always going centre, then the humans always went corner. And so we just had this box next to the game because
this was always being called up, and that is the best move, generally speaking, but that has its benefits.
Yeah.
Okay. But again, these are the ones that are blank because we didn't put anything...
Yeah, so these 3 were blank because of symmetry. This one must have run out.
Yeah, actually, that's a legitimate move, but it was a terrible one, I guess, and it's gone. That's really interesting. Well, we will data log all of this if anyone wants to have a look through it and see what we've missed. Interestingly, now it's over halfway through day 2, and we're doing the ones with the extra beads for all the physical positions. And how's the learning looking so far?
It's not doing as well today. I think essentially because it has to learn twice not to play on an edge. Like if there's 2 edge positions, yesterday we'll just had the beads for one of them because it's symmetrical. Yeah. But today it has to learn, oh, don't go there, but also don't go there. So it takes twice as many games for it to learn that. We're slightly worried that the first box is going to run out of beads.
Well, it's almost out of centres.
Yeah.
Because I guess before it was a 1 in 3 chance it would go in the middle, and now it's a 1 in 9 chance it's going to go in the middle. But, I mean, if we ran it the same way, we would have got the same results again. And so maybe it will learn some crazy corner strategy.
The Mickey's original machine did always go in the corner when he played his tournament, not the centre. Yeah, so I'm thinking maybe he did have it set up like this, not like we had it.
Oh, that's interesting.
I mean, perfect strategy. If you've got a perfect strategy for noughts and crosses, you can always at least force a draw or at best a win starting in the corner. So
maybe...
There's no reason it couldn't learn to be good at corner.
Okay, well, you know what? Let's stick with possibly rash decision to change it right before the start of the day and see if it learns a corner strategy. All right. Our on-the-fly changes to Menace kind of worked. So only having 1/9 of them being green for the centre position did mean that the greens got removed pretty quickly, and we're in with a chance to teach it a corner-based strategy, which would be amazing. That would be a whole different optimal style of play, which wasn't available to the original Menace setup. The downside, though, is it died. So Menace passed away here. And by passed away, we mean we took out the last bead from the zeroth, the beginning opening box. And other boxes can go empty because that just means that particular game, Menace resigns. But if there's none in the starting box, it can't make an opening move. So we kind of underestimated how many beads we would need in the zeroth box to be able to train the other boxes downstream, because they need a lot of games to learn. Every single game goes through that first box. Turns out this is harder for Menace to hone than we thought. So we've got a new sub-rule. We're not letting Menace die. So when Menace gets down to the last bead, we don't take it out of the zeroth box. So when it hits the bottom axis, in theory, we should, because it lost, we're gonna leave it. So we're kind of putting Menace on life support. It's not allowed to die. That last bead stays there. We're hoping, oh, here we go, just another win. We're hoping that will buy it the time to train all the other boxes to learn this new strategy. So we're now frantically just going to play as many games as we can before we get kicked out at the end of the weekend. I will get all the data afterwards, and in a second you'll see me a few days in the future. Once I've got the data, because we're just going to get turf from here, we'll crunch it and see if we could learn a whole new strategy. It's now Friday, just under a week since I was in Manchester, and Matt has sent me through all the stats from the final Sunday as well as Saturday. So let's have a close look at it. This is the plot that we saw on Saturday. No surprises there. Started off terrible, learnt to go in the middle, eventually was drawing pretty much every single game, apart from a few edge moves that were still in the mix, but you know, they were getting weeded out pretty quickly. When we reset it for Sunday, I was worried it was going to die, but it didn't, right? It pulled through. So this is the plot for Saturday. It took it a lot longer to learn, and we did have to put in that one bead when we had it on life support, but it pulled out. Look at this. There's pretty much, that is an ongoing winning, well, drawing, same thing in noughts and crosses, strategy. And I can actually overlay Saturday on the same plot as Sunday. So you can see it did, like it started losing at about the same rate, but it pulled out of it a lot sooner on Saturday with its center-based strategy. And then there it is, off and racing. And then here, it dropped a bit more, meandered along for longer. But then once it got a working corner-based strategy, that is perfectly parallel. Right, so that strategy is as good as what it had on the first day. It just took it a bit longer to find it. And what I love is we kind of started at different setups for Menace. So you can imagine the space of all possible Menace machines, and we started at 2 different points, let them evolve, and they found different local maxima for their, well, I guess they're all the same. They're all the same drawing strategy, right? But they found 2 different points where they settle in on different drawing strategies. And so that's, I mean, I could not be more pleased with how this turned out. Of all the second videos on the other channel I've put together, this is probably my favorite. I think this is more interesting than what we put in the main video. So good on you for watching all of the second video, even though I filmed the last bit of it in a echoey backstage room. I'm on tour at the moment, and so once I got this in, this is me in an abandoned dressing room. But I wanted to have a quick look at the stats. Actually, while I've got you, let's get the stats themselves. So here we go. This is the spreadsheet. You know what, let's look at Saturday first. These are all the stats that Matt sent me of when we counted the beads first thing Sunday morning. It's got every single state going down, and then it shows you how many beads were in which of which color for which position, I guess, and also where the box was labeled. The README file, if you download it all, explains how to decode this. And here is the one for Sunday. There's Sundays. But, you know, in this format, I mean, all the data's there, but it's a bit hard to read. I actually, before I tried to recreate a game of noughts and crosses by following this, and it started to do my head in. And it doesn't take much to crunch it. So I'll show you what I did. This is what I ended up playing with here. So I wrote some conditional formatting just to pull out the labels of each box, and I've put that in the rows over here. And then I used a very similar bit of formatting. So if you look at this, it just says, you know, if it's an O or an X, put it over here. If it's not an O or an X, put the number over there. And that just splits out the labeling from the bead count. And then I've used conditional formatting to show me where the big values are, because you can very quickly see where the most common games were, which is where the final strategy settled in on by just looking at the big values. And so the first row, they're all in the corner, top left, every single time. And then for the second move, you're always there. So what's that? That's middle right-hand side. Well, it depends. I mean, there are some symmetries. So maybe it's, occasionally you've got to flip what you're doing to track it. And then down here, these aren't used much. And you can see there, that 29, that is almost without a doubt the third move made in every single game, right? So from this, you can completely reconstruct his favorite strategies and you can crunch it. And I've only done a very cursory look through it because I wanted to try playing against, I played against the final state, but I had to look it up in a spreadsheet. So all these numbers, all the stats are available. I'll put the link in the description, download the whole file. If you do anything interesting with them, let me know. I'd love to see, or put it in the comments below. And so, yeah, what an amazing project, a fantastic amount of fun. Do check out Matt Scroggs' website, because he's got the software version of this, and he's got the software version of when MENACE goes second. And you probably might have seen, I think it made it into the first video, Matt Scroggs is involved with the Chalkdust Magazine at UCL, which is a phenomenal maths magazine. It's free if you pay for postage, or it's online. So I'll put some links to Chalkdust below. I think it's a great magazine. You should check it out. It was actually through Chalkdust that I first realized Matt was doing this, and then when I saw him do a talk at the Mass Jam conference. And so, yeah, there you are. This worked out even better than I expected. This has got to be, that is now running for my plot of the year.